duals and non-binary friends. Welcome to the Scrubcast. Today, we have video.
And this is the problem with doing videos, is that now whenever Audrey does their intro, I start laughing, and everybody can know now that I laugh every single time.
My name's Glowcat, but you can call me Audrey, because we're friends, and I stumble over words. And that is...
I'm skunk, and I look like I'm smoking a joint, but I promise you it's a cigarette.
And welcome to the new format.
Yeah, we're doing video now because I came up with this idea. I thought video, video would be fun. We're a video club. Why aren't we doing things with video? We have a YouTube channel.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and we're tying it more into our video club than we ever had before.
Yeah, that's not the only change. We have other changes that we're doing.
Good changes. Possibly.
Oh, possibly. I think they're good.
I got to remember to look at the camera.
You don't have to look at the camera. I only said look at the camera because I thought it would look weird if we weren't looking like at the camera, like at the viewer. Like, hello, viewers. But now that you mentioned earlier that it makes me look like I'm a fucking crazy person, so that's...
This is a good movie.
Oh, we do the thing like on WWE where they're always looking off camera at like another camera or whatever. Or no, they'll look at a TV and they're like, the TV's at a weird angle and they're just kind of like
me like this.
Yeah.
Literally.
What are you watching?
Right now, this is a TV recording of a Saturday Night Live episode.
Who's the guest host?
It's for Double Dragon. It's Scott Wolf. Is that his name?
I don't remember.
For Double Dragon. So
Double Dragon. Yeah. Jay Ferguson composed the music in that movie.
Yeah. Old Jay Ferguson.
I love Jay Ferguson. He's one of the best composers ever. Okay, all right, let's get on point. Let's get on track because we're this video thing is totally throwing us completely off now because we're talking about other shit rather than what we're supposed to be talking about.
We're not supposed to be talking about anything. Let's be fair here. We have things that we have chosen to talk about.
Yeah, that's another way of putting it. So, basically, what we're doing now is that instead of picking a movie of the week, or actually we were only doing this per month before, but now we're going to try to do it weekly. Instead of doing a movie that we just pick that we feel is like this is a film that we want to tell people about. We want people to get excited and go watch the movie and stuff. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to do whatever 2 movies we watched at Video Club.
And don't fret the whole... This is movies that we're really excited for people to see and we think they need to watch. That's still going to happen. We're going to be doing shorter YouTube videos for stuff like that. So be on the lookout for some Scrubhaus Video Club staff pick stuff, which is just going to be short and sweet and to the point and just kind of that, I guess.
But the main format that we're going to do in these more longer form podcast videos, and of course we're still going to be doing the audio upload as well, is going to be specifically about what 2 movies we watched in our themed Video Club weekly vote thing that we've been doing for forever on our Discord.
Damn years now.
Mm-hmm. We're coming up on our 3rd year anniversary of doing this, so that's pretty neat.
What we're saying is join the Discord.
Yeah, there will be a link in the description. But yeah, so this week our theme was black humor. Gallows humor films, the kind of stuff that's all about murder and mayhem, but we put a fun little spin on it. Some of the other films that were on the list that didn't win the vote were films like Clue and Very Bad Things. But the 2 winners were 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag and Grosse Pointe Blank. So we're going to talk about Grosse Pointe Blank first because Grosse Pointe Blank was our 2nd place winner.
Yeah, which means we actually watch it second.
We always watch it second because that's the one that like everybody wants to watch the first place winner. We always watch the second place winner later because it's the movie that not everybody wanted to see, basically. And you know, I've got work in the morning. So I went to sleep.
It happens. Yeah, sometimes Saturday creeps up on us. Sometimes.
Yep.
So, yeah. So we'll go ahead and start with some Grosse Pointe Blank here. It's a 1997 movie. 1997. Not the best year for films. Really, not the worst, I guess, either. But this movie is weird. A mess. It is an absolute mess.
There are esoteric as fuck, is what it is.
Yeah, so there are great scenes that are interspersed within a not great film. And the movie actually has a solid premise at times, but John Cusack's character is clearly a psychopath.
Everyone in this movie is clearly a psychopath. Like, clearly. Like, there isn't a character in this movie that acts natural. They all act... They're all acting very weird. Every single character in this movie acts very weird. None of them act like you would actually be in real life, whether or not you're a hitman. Let's get the basic plot out of the way. It's about a hitman who he gets invited to his 10-year high school reunion. He doesn't want to go, but he gets contracted to go do a hit in the same town.
But the town is Detroit, but it's small? I don't get it.
Grosse Pointe is a suburb of Detroit. It's kind of like the difference between like Des Plaines and Chicago. There isn't one.
They keep saying Detroit specifically. So like it's because it all takes place in like a 2-block radius of each other once they're there.
Yeah.
I know that's to like cut down on filming costs, but I think I've come to the conclusion that I am just not a fan of most John Cusack films, because since Say Anything happened, that was John Cusack, right?
He was in it.
Like,
it was John Hughes movie.
The whole like trying to get a girl in very weird circumstances, like romantic comedy thing, it just doesn't do it for me. That being said, there are scenes in this film that are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so again, like I said, the dialogue is very weird in this movie. The way people talk to each other, the way they interact is very strange. It all comes off very comic book-esque in a way. Everybody has these long dialogues with each other. They're just like they're almost like soliloquies in a way. They just go on about things for a while, and you're just kind of sitting there, and sometimes it's funny, and a lot of times you're just going, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
This movie, as I said to you earlier, but we were actually starting before we started recording, I feel as though this movie specifically would have been made infinitely better if the main character, played by freaking
Nicolas
Cage, because he has the kind of like over the top in this movie, but they try to make it just seem like a standard like neurotic thing, where as it doesn't come off as like crazy. They want to make it seem kind of quirky and cute, where I feel like something like Nicolas Cage would have brought it into a more crazy territory in which the movie would have more room to breathe. Because with this film, that's its problem, is they try to play things too straight and narrow and then insert crazy scenes where it should have just all been over the top. If it would have just all been as big as the 3 or 4 set pieces that happened in this film, I would have loved it. I mean, you have some decent people on the cast. You have Hank Azaria, you have Dan Aykroyd, you have Alan Arkin. So
Joan Cusack's in this.
Yeah, we've already mentioned. Oh, you said Joan. Yes, Joan is in. You have
they're the same person. You
have all of these people that could have done a better job. And to be fair, Dan Aykroyd, anytime he's on screen, he's great. He's always like laughing or smiling, even though typically trying to kill people or he's being a smarmy prick. It's good.
There's just some scenes. There's some scenes in this movie where Dan Aykroyd goes from being like he's the happiest go lucky hitman in the world to just being downright terrifying. Like there's the scene in the diner where he's just being all like, "Come on, you want to join up with us? You want to join the group?" He's like, "I really don't want to join. I've nothing to do with this." And we're all gonna get together, and there's gonna be meetings and all this other stuff. And then he goes, "Well, what's the job?" Or he said he's in town to do a job, and Cusack goes, "Well, tell me about it." And he goes, "Like, I'm gonna fucking put a bullet in your head and fuck the brain hole." And it's just like, what? That came out of nowhere. What the fuck, Dan Aykroyd?
Yeah, like, and it ends up being really weird with the character, but whatever.
But there's some very Kevin Smith-esque, like, weird scenes in this movie. Like, he runs into these two federal agents in the bathroom, and he walks in there. And he's just like, "Oh, hey, it's you guys. Look, if you want to kill me, I'm going to be heading back to my hotel in about an hour. I'll see you there." And he just leaves the bathroom. And they're just all like, "Man, that dude, he's so fucking weird." And then Dan Aykroyd pops out of a bathroom stall. And it's just like, "Yeah, why didn't you guys just kill him?" And they're like, "Because we're federal agents. We have to wait for him to commit a crime first." And Dan Aykroyd starts going off on a rant, and one of them goes, "Oh, hey, he's coming back." Dan Aykroyd hides in the toilet. They're like,
and
then he pops back out, and he's like, "You guys are assholes." like it just pulled a prank on him. And it's like, that's the kind of weird shit you get in this movie.
There's a scene in this film, and I have to say, early on in this movie, I was like, why is there a Doom 2 cabinet in the...
A thing that doesn't exist in real life.
Yeah, and like actually one of our gracious members who because you listened to the last podcast, as you should, Glass Dragon put out specifically. He looked it up. It was made specifically for this movie.
It was.
It was a
I know all about this because I'm a huge Doom fan.
And it leads to one of the best scenes ever in a movie.
It's a very weird scene in this movie.
Let's just say there's a kid with headphones on that looks a lot like a young Rob Liefeld, jamming out to Ace of Spades by Motorhead while playing Doom 2 on an arcade cabinet while two assassins are having a gunfight behind him and he's not noticing.
In the grocery store.
From the perspective of the screen of the arcade cabinet. So you're seeing his face as he's playing the hell out of this arcade game with all of this carnage going on in the background. And it's beautiful. And it's too short.
It's great because he's playing Doom 2, which is not an arcade game, but it's in an arcade cabinet, and he's playing it, and the footage of the game is switching between like several levels. It's like map 1, map 30, map 8. Like it's constantly, you can see that that sometimes the footage has God mode on, sometimes it doesn't. It's very weird. The whole entire time he's playing is just very strange. And in the background is these two guys shooting at each other. Shit's exploding, and there's glass going everywhere, and there's bottles of soda, pouring out on the floor. And then, just randomly during the scene, you see John Cusack's reloading his gun, and you just hear beep, 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 beep. Like, what the fuck is the beeping for? Right? So he chases the guy out, and that's when he notices the guy has made a bomb out of a potato and stuck it in the microwave, and the microwave's counting down. That's the bomb. When the microwave gets to 0, it'll explode. But the bomb isn't attached to the microwave timer, it's just inside of a potato.
Yeah.
And he's like, he looks at it for a second, and he has this is the best moment in the whole entire film. John Cusack looks at this potato and just goes, like, what the fuck? Like, why did he make a bomb out of a potato? And so he leaves, realizes the kid's still inside playing the video game because he hasn't been paying attention. He grabs him. They both go running outside. The fucking convenience store explodes. And John Cusack's like, "Are you okay, kid?" And he goes, "No." I have to find a new job.
Yeah, now I have to find a new job. It was. There are
again very weird scenes in this movie,
and it always happens whenever he comes in contact with. I don't remember the name of the other hitman, Felix something.
Grosse. Oh, are you talking about the other hitman that he was fighting? The French guy?
Yeah. Yeah. Those seem to be pretty good scenes, the shootouts, and it's just a film that I would say is definitely worth a watch, but it's not like a good movie. You know, like if it happens to be on, I wouldn't turn. But I don't think I would ever voluntarily toss this movie back on.
Can I ask you a weird question?
Yes.
Did you adjust your mic settings in Discord?
I did not.
Yeah, I was about to say, because you keep cutting out.
Oh.
Just fix it real quick while I'm talking. So, yeah, there's a couple of other scenes in this movie that are weird, bizarre scenes that you wouldn't expect to be in this movie, but they totally are. Like, just randomly, it'll cut to something, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on in this film? It's kind of schizophrenic in that way. Like, it just cuts to Joan Cusack at one point pouring gasoline all over the place. Like, she's got a can of gasoline, and she's going fucking ham with it. The phone rings, and she answers it, and she's like, hello? And John Cusack's character, Martin, is just like, hey, are we out of business yet? She's like, I'm shutting the office down now. Why? I'm like, what the fuck? Why is she pouring gasoline on everything? What the fuck is going on? There's no scene where he's just all like, please burn our office to the ground.
Yeah. I wouldn't go out of my way to watch this movie again. I'm glad.
I'm glad to watch it again, but yeah, it's definitely not a rewatch. It's not a rewatch heavy film. I would say give it a watch at least once. It's worth it just to see at least once. There's some very quotable moments, but they're few and far between. It's pretty much just there's the scene where he keeps telling people that he's a professional killer and they don't believe him, and that's funny.
Yeah, that's a good running joke. The whole like I'm a professional killer thing.
There's the scene where he decides to stop being a professional killer, and so the guy he was hired to kill, he saves, and he says it's like, I don't know, I've been having some second thoughts about killing people. I don't maybe I'm just having like a crisis of faith or something, and then it cuts to Dan Aykroyd's character. He's just like, what the fuck, is he having a crisis of faith or something?
Yeah.
and of course I know I paraphrased that scene, too, because I can't remember exactly how it went down, and I just watched that movie. The one scene I can remember is the like, I'm going to put a bullet in your head and fuck the brain hole. Like, I got that line is, like, memorized. Most of this other movie is just, eh. There is one good redeeming quality about this film, that if you don't ever want to watch it, at least check out the soundtrack. Because the high school reunion is for the class of 1986. The soundtrack is 100% entirely 1980s hits, mostly like ska. Like it's a lot of specials and the Eels and then the Clash and Madness and stuff like that. Yeah, but
you also have like Pixies and Violent Femmes and Guns N' Roses and like things like that on here. Motor Cure. Like there are bands on there. I wouldn't say they're in the top 10, but they were definitely like some deeper cuts. We Care a Lot by Faith No More is on here, which is
that was a weird one to hear because I didn't expect it. I always thought of Faith No More as more of a 90s band, but when I heard it, I was like, it's one of their more 80s songs that they came out with.
I mean, it was
because it was in the 80s.
I mean, that was prior to Mike Patton. So not to get all music nerd or anything, but that was the original lead singer, and that one makes sense to put in the film. But yeah, they did a damn good job with the soundtrack. As I was watching the movie, I kept calling out bands, and I was just like, oh wow, because I didn't see this movie until this was my first experience of Grosse Pointe.
I'd seen it once before, but I literally just for the Doom scene. I just wanted to know. The fuck was that?
It was a timer.
What? Is it time to bend at the knees? Oh, you know what that sound means. This time to bend at the knees.
No, I set a 20-minute timer.
Okay, so it's time for an advertisement.
Well, no,
Okay,
it's your final thoughts on this film.
And yeah, so what grade do you give this film?
I would give this film a C. I would say it's not very Scrubhousey, but there are specific scenes that are Scrubhousey in it. I feel like, yeah, a C, maybe a C plus is a good grade for this.
I gotta slightly disagree with you. C minus for me. It's just not coherent enough. This film feels like a fever dream when you're watching it, and when you do have good funny scenes in it, it is bust your gut laughing scenes, but they're so few and far between. Most of the time, you're just watching it like going.
That's not going to be the last time you hear us use the term fever dream in this podcast.
In this episode,
yeah,
specifically.
Yes.
That being said,
it's time for a word from our sponsors, possibly us.
Hey Audrey, what are you watching?
I am still watching SNL.
Yeah, but what are they doing? I can't see it. It's a white blur for me.
Specifically is the cheerleaders scene with Molly Shannon and Will Ferrell.
That's that Superstar thing.
No. No,
yeah, Superstar.
That's different.
Is that not the same thing? Oh, I thought that was the same thing.
But it's specifically for Titanic. Yeah, they're cheering about Titanic. It had just been released in theaters.
Okay. I'd rather talk about something else than Titanic. Namely, 8 heads in a duffel bag.
Ah, yes, from 1997. Not a great year for films. Also not a bad one.
You keep saying that. What other things came out? I'm pulling out my phone. What other things came out in 97 that you keep saying that 97 was not a good... I'm going to find a good movie that came out in 97.
Eight heads in a duffel bag.
Besides that.
Face Off. Titanic.
Do not say Titanic.
Titanic came out in 1997. It wasn't a great year for films.
The Fifth Element came out in 97.
Yes. So did Jungle to Jungle.
Event Horizon. Good Will Hunting. Lost Highway.
Yes.
But then you also have Spawn,
Jungle to Jungle.
Anaconda.
Yes. Warriors of Virtue.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
See, okay, so we're getting out on a tangent here. 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag. Starring Joe Pesci, David Spade, George fucking Hamilton.
To say that this movie stars David Spade is kind of a misnomer.
It stars Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci is the reason to watch this movie.
David Spade is just there getting tortured for an hour and a half.
It's kind of great. I think George Hamilton's character is probably my favorite just because I'm a fan of George Hamilton in general.
Which one was George Hamilton?
The dad.
Oh. What's the main dude is? Who's he played by? Besides Joe Pesci, the other guy. He's so fucking he's so forgettable that you just can't.
It's Andy Como. Let's see.
Yeah, he never did anything else, did he? He's not even the first fucking build.
He's not. He's like far. He was in 1 Hour Photo. He does a lot of TV acting. He's a TV actor.
Yeah, movies wise, he did 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag and
so important.
1 Hour Photo, and that was pretty much it. I've never heard of any of these other things he's ever done, and he's only got like 10 things on fucking Google.
He was the person that played Forrest Gump in the Weird Al Yankovic music video. It's Gump.
Did he?
Yes.
Huh.
So we have found my favorite Andy Cumberland.
That's the only good one he's ever done.
He was fine in this movie. I'm gonna say it, fever dream of a movie. There's a lot to take in when it comes to 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag.
I was gonna say the 2 films that won this week were the ones that were the least coherent. The other films that we had, like Clue and Very Bad Things, and I forget what the third one was because whatever, nobody cared.
Yeah.
But they were all more coherent. This again is just a movie that everything that happens in this movie is bizarre. But unlike Grosse, Pointe, and Blank, everything that happens in this movie has a point.
Throw Mama from the Train.
Throw Mama from the Train, yeah. That again, another. Actually, that's kind of a fever dreamish movie.
It's a fever dream of a film. That's the problem whenever you get into black comedies, is sometimes these comedies are very, very, very weird, and they have to be to get made. And this movie killed Joe Pesci's career. Like, I'm not gonna act like it didn't. If you look at everything that Joe Pesci made after 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag, it's like the Gone Fishing in Lethal Weapon 4, and then like he stopped.
I mean, he was already in the Lethal Weapon series before that.
Yeah, but he filmed Gone Fishing and 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag in the same year, and then just kind of pieced out of movies for a while. And I can understand why, but it's one hell of a swan songy movie. Joe Pesci plays Joe Pesci.
Specifically, he plays a character named Tommy, and that's not the first time he's done that.
And he's a gangster who didn't do the whacking.
No, he's just the bagman.
Bagman. So he has to deliver 8 heads to
Big Sal.
Big Sal. That's his name. And the heads get mixed up with some other guy's luggage, and then hilarity.
They literally have the same bag, and so
it's a bag. Like, that's why you have fucking luggage tags. This movie could have been completely like looked past. It wouldn't have even happened if they would have just invested in a 20-cent luggage tag. Think about that for a second. 20 cents. That's it.
In 1997 dollars even.
I mean, that's more like $1 in 1997 dollars.
But still, it could have been avoided.
Yeah, so there are really fucking weird things that happen in this movie.
There's a little bit more on the plot we have to expand upon. So he gets the 8 heads in the duffel bag on his way to meeting up with his girlfriend and her family to vacation in Mexico.
And
that's the whole entire thing is that he's in Mexico, which they keep referring to as a third world country for some reason, even though they're at like this nice fucking resort that has like an airport and everything.
Later on in the movie, they make reference to the fact that it is a nice place, in that they were just being assholes. Like that is a specific thing that's brought up, which I like. That there's definitely some coherent plot threads in this film, but there is also shit where it's like this movie would not have existed any time outside of 1997. Okay. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit any timeline. It should not exist, but I'm glad it does.
Yep. It's a very strange film where you have characters who are, unlike in Grosse Pointe Blank, they're doing exactly what you would expect them to do, right? They're very human characters. You know, the whole entire thing of when they find the heads in the duffel bag. Yeah, because I mean, you can't have the whole movie unless somebody finds the fucking heads. They immediately start thinking that our main character, Charlie, is a complete psychopath who carries around heads in his duffel bag. And as he's trying to explain, no, my luggage got slipped up with somebody else's. And they're like, we should go to the police. And he's like, no, we'll go to prison.
Mexico.
In Mexico. Meanwhile, Tommy's trying to find the fucking duffel bag, and the only lead that he has is Charlie went to college in Massachusetts. So, or I think it was Massachusetts. Was it Missouri or Massachusetts? I don't remember. It started with an M. And so he goes to this college, and he finds David Spade and some guy, and he proceeds to torture them for information. And that's one of the funnier scenes in the movie.
He tortures them by tying them up and then rat-tailing a fucking towel and wets the tip and started just rat-tailing them with a towel. That's how he was.
That was one of the tortures. One of the other tortures, which I thought was even more brilliant, was I'm going to demonstrate with bottle caps. He takes 2 stethoscopes. He puts one in each of their ears and goes. And all I could imagine was how much that fucking hurt.
Yeah, they got inventive with it, and I dug it.
It's fucking good.
This movie made me say, "What the fuck?" so many times. And this is a movie that I'd seen this probably 6 or 7 times, but the prior 5 or 6 times was whenever I was younger. They used to play this a lot on Comedy Central, strangely enough, during the day.
My dad had a VHS copy of this film, and we would watch it whenever we were on, like, road trips. That and Ocean's 11.
I have one of those up there, but now I think I need to add a copy of 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag to my VHS club.
You should.
I'm just going to cut to the chase right here.
We're talking about the scene?
That my favorite scene in this movie is the scene that everyone remembers. It's if you've ever even seen this movie once, you probably are screaming about the scene right now, which is Tommy's laying in bed, he's asleep, all of the heads are laid out in front of him, and if I'm not mistaken, these aren't the right heads. Some
of these are the right heads, some of these are not.
Yes, and they start seeing like a modified.
Hold up. We have to address that real quick. Yeah, the right heads or the wrong heads. How can there be more than fucking 8 heads? Because we were talking about 8 heads in a duffel bag in the beginning of the storyline. Well, Charlie lost some of the heads, and he gets some of them back, but then he loses some others, and this keeps happening until finally Tommy, on the way to Mexico, and before he even gets there, has decided to take heads from these other medical students. Not David Spade and the other guy. They didn't just cut their heads off. No, they went into the cryogenics lab and the morgue in their fucking college town and just started chopping heads off of cadavers. So he has some of the heads are missing, but he has more than 8 heads with him at this moment in the film. He actually has 9. And there's some more in coolers at another location. This is all very fucking weird.
Yeah, so I think in total there were 13 heads?
I think at the end of it there were
only ended up being
he brings 4 heads and 1 he can't use. And there's 8. The 13 might be accurate.
Yeah, it was like a bad Frank.
Oh yeah, bad Frank in a.
And then Steve was the one who cut off all the heads. Steve, that guy who was just like, "Oh, I never noticed this before. If I like knock out a couple teeth and bust your face up, you'd make a good Frank." And then it.
No, yeah, and put you in a bad wig or something like that.
Yeah. So.
And the fun part about this is that you can actually tell which heads were the cadaver heads and which heads were actually from the crime, because or from the hit rather, because it's all a crime. But you can tell which ones are which because the cadavers obviously don't have blood on the neck because the blood wasn't flowing when their heads were cut off.
Yeah, and they're like they start off a little more blue. And
yeah, it's very weird.
So
good attention to detail, though.
Back to the scene. Joe Pesci, laying in bed asleep, heads in front of him on a table, and they start singing a modified version of Mr. Sandman.
Mr. Headman.
Yeah. As like, it starts to swell, and as it starts to swell, the headless corpses start busting through the walls and trying to hold down and attack Tommy.
And there's just the way that they sing.
So I gotta stay sober, Mr. Hitman. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's handled in one of the most comedic fashions ever, and it is.
It's such a fucking weird scene.
Because it's clearly supposed to be a dream sequence, and it's written in a way that they can get away with it. But there is still absurd things that happen in this movie, obviously, that aren't dream related. Let's talk about the what was it, the mother-in-law?
Yes. She's fucking great. No. The mother-in-law. Wait, which one are you talking about? Which? They're both. Oh, yeah. She's this like they refer to her at one point as a battle axe.
Yes.
What are you looking at your TV again for? What's going on?
Flashing, but then it gave me a Seven Dust commercial.
Oh,
like, and it was like, wow, okay. New Metal was popping in '97.
Oh yeah, that's right. Your episode of Saturday Night Live must be from '97.
Same year as Titanic. There's correlation behind what I did back here. Yeah.
You did that on accident.
I noticed that both of the films were made in '97, and I happen to have this tape. It was an accident that I had the tape, but I purposefully put it in.
So anyway, the old lady, I thought it was very interesting that we had two films on this list that involved old ladies who are crotchety as fuck and don't take anybody's shit. The whole entire time she's smoking and drinking in this movie and just being all like, Joe Pesci's character at one point tells her to shut the fuck up and she's like, watch your fucking language.
Yeah, she is absolutely wonderful. The entire time she's being a bitch, but like in a wonderful way because Joe Pesci is an asshole and he deserves it. She keeps talking and talking, and then there's a scene where they're in a van and they're driving over a bridge, and she's talking and talking, and he just opens the door of the van and throws her
out. And at this point, that's when the mother-in-law in this story, it's actually her daughter-in-law, the old lady's daughter-in-law, just like, I thought she'd never die.
Yeah, and then she fully snapped at that point, but she's a far more likable character once she's fully snapped. Because like she thanks him like 6 fucking times for it.
Yeah, and everybody's like, please stop.
Yeah, please stop.
And then Steve's broken at this point. He keeps making head jokes.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, whenever a man forces you at gunpoint to chop heads off of cadavers, and pretty much tells you that he's going to kill you and have you replace his Bat Frank head, you kind of just aren't really going to be there mentally, are you?
Yeah, the airport scene where they're going through, and he has the duffel bag full of the 8 heads, but they have leftover heads, and they have the head that they're going to use to get past security. But then Steve just grabs a head and starts running around like, everybody look, I've got a head! I've got a head, everybody! I've got a head! It's my favorite head! Incites a riot in Mexico? It's like, what the fuck?
And here's a little tie together, by the way. The guy who played Steve is Todd Lucio. And his biggest role that most people know him from is actually next to John Cusack from High Fidelity.
Oh, he's in High Fidelity?
Yeah, he played Dick.
Neat.
High Fidelity. Yeah, so like it kind of ties them together there, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, this is a very good movie. It's a fun, weird romp of a film that you just kind of have to see to believe. It's bizarre. There's
It should
scenes.
it literally, this movie should not have gotten made. But again, I'm so glad it was.
It's so weird. So that begs the $1,000,000 question now.
What is this a Scrubhouse film?
It's very much a Scrubhouse film. We can go ahead and say that right now. It's Joe Pesci movie.
For sure. Well, I wouldn't say Joe Pesci movies are Scrubhouse films. Like Goodfellas isn't like a Scrubhouse film. Casino isn't a Scrubhouse film.
You don't think Casino's a Scrubhouse film?
No, I think it's too high class for us.
A movie.
Yes.
A movie where a dude gets his fucking hand hammered is too high class for us?
It's... Yes.
Okay. What about My Cousin Vinny?
That would probably be a Scrubhouse film.
Okay. All right.
And if anybody would like us to watch My Cousin Vinny, you could simply join the Discord server. And at some point, that might show up on a vote.
It may. It just might.
It's probably not going to, but I'm doing it.
Just in case. So, no, the $1,000,000 question. What's the grade for this film?
This is an A- all day long for me. This movie is... I love this movie. And I am glad that other people had to experience this film, because I feel as though a lot of people that watched it with us, they had never seen it before. And I think it's great. Yeah, definitely A- all day long.
I agree. I also give it an A-. It's got a fantastic premise behind it. It's weird enough to be a Scrubhouse worthy film, but not so weird that normal everyday people can't get into it. There's some brilliant scenes involving Joe Pesci and his intelligence that I think work in the context of the film. And the only problem with the movie is the sort of blatant racism, but they address it and they make fun of it, and it's the like they make fun of all these people who are just all like, Mexico's a third world country and all this other shit. Although there is the scene with like the car theft thing, but that also ends up being really funny the second time.
Yeah. It sets up for things. So, yeah. I say check it out. You could have checked it out with us.
You can just join our Discord. Now, what I do want to say is that next week, what we'll be discussing, and what our video topic for next week is going to be Black Comedies. And by that, what I mean is comedies that are based on African American culture. So that's going to be fun. I've got a special little video announcement about that coming up soon. That probably be up before this video is. I'll probably have that done tonight. But I actually have a friend of mine, say a wrestler, and she kind of gave me a breakdown on what makes these movies so good, and also offered some suggestions, one of which she's like, no, you have to watch this movie. It's a sin if you don't put this movie on your list. I'm like, okay, we'll add it. So it's a very special, weird vote where we're going to have 6 movies. We usually only do 5, but we're going to have 6 this week. And so it'll be a good opportunity to see some classic, awesome comedies centered for a more African-American audience, but ones that anybody can enjoy, I say. We got some good Eddie Murphy films in there. We got a Wayans film, Wayans Brothers, of course, always bringing in the comedic charm that they always did on like In Living Color and their various parodies and stuff. So it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, but there's also a Madea movie that everyone's just gonna vote for and make us watch. So
one person's gonna vote for that movie for sure because they love Madea, and I gotta admit, Madea movies are funny. I don't watch Madea movies and laugh. They're not good cinema, but Tyler Perry's got away with the comedic value. I guess gotta say that. And he's very funny. He's a very funny writer, but...
All right, and I guess we'll break into our news portion.
Yeah, very short news portion this week because we had to take up a lot of time at the beginning with the new format throwing us off and everything. You have something awesome to announce.
I do. So, Scrubhaus Video Club, as you know, we are based in Tennessee. This is kind of where we got our starts here.
Mm-hmm.
And we handle East Tennessee side down into Georgia, obviously, and even up a little bit, and we spill over into North Carolina and some other places. And in East Tennessee, we will be having the East Tennessee VHS Fest. So this is going to be sponsored by Dismembers Only, this is going to be brought to you by Scrubhaus Video Club, Dismembers Only, and the Dungeon at Southland. We're actually sponsored by Vinegar Syndrome, which, if you don't know, is a distribution company that focuses on bringing movies to Blu-ray and DVD that I've never seen released outside of VHS. Mm-hmm. They deal with all of the red, and they help get films such as Unmasked Part 25, Spookies, things that we never thought was going to see large release. They're going to be sponsoring us. It will be on the 18th of April, which is the day after what would have been my mom's birthday. And I'm sure she would have been proud of this. It's going to be at the Bird and Book from 1 to 8 p.m.
Marvel,
as they want us to call it. The restaurant.
The people there will specifically state, no, you have to pronounce it Marvel.
It will be available to everyone. And then at 9 p.m., we will make our way at 8, of course, to Knoxville to see a special showing, Central Cinema, who is also partnering with us on this, for a viewing of Blood Lake. So that should be pretty damn fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some things going on. And, of course, if you're in the greater Knoxville area, we always do the monthly VHS swap with members only as well at Central Cinema. So we'd love to see you there.
Mm-hmm. Only thing I've got really going on right now is I got coming up, let me double check my schedule, make sure I've got the right date on this. If you want to come out and see some awesome professional wrestling in the Chattanooga area, believe that's the 14th? Yeah, March 14th. Good old Pie Day. We will be doing a show at the TWE Arena in Red Bank, Tennessee. Look us up at TWE Chattanooga on Twitter. We'll be doing a show there. Of course, we'll be running video and sound like I usually do. And there will be some awesome, fantastic professional wrestling. And yeah, that's pretty much all we've got right now.
Also, I'm offering custom VHS stuff nowadays. So if anybody is interested.
If you need a custom VHS case for your particular movie, definitely look up Audrey here for that.
So we're Scrubhouse Video Club on Instagram, easiest way to get a hold. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we also handle graphic design needs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. A little bit of video stuff. So feel free to hit us up. And we do want to thank you for tuning in to this inaugural.
Like and subscribe. Join our Patreon. Join our Discord. The link's down in the description. And of course, per usual, we never have an ending thing. We need to come up with an ending thing. You know, James A. Janice has an ending thing. We need to come up with one.
Our ending thing is that we don't have an ending thing.
I hate that so much.
Well, I hate myself. So it's not. Sometimes we got to deal with things we hate. Just saying.
Remember when Crack.com did the Crackulator thing?
What are we supposed to say? And remember, as always, stay scrubby.
You did that once already. It was
the worst. It's the worst.
And then you said, and then after that, you said, scrub your ass.
You know, smoke them. Like, what am I supposed to say here?
I don't know.